guys, welcome to Mandy's Come Sew With Me. Now if you haven't been here before, my name's Mandy and this is my craft room. So today I'm just going to jump straight into it, guys, and I want to talk to you about fat quarters. Now I buy a lot of fat quarters. It started when I was in the shop, when we used to do our shop. I used to buy a lot of fat quarters and I used them to make a lot of things, to which we sold. Anyway, I just wanted you to be aware that there are a lot of different size variations with the fat quarters. So if you want to come over and have a look, I actually have 3 fat quarters here. They're squared off at the top, but as you can see, they are different sizes. Now, for the things that I used to do in the shop, this top one is actually not long enough. Like, I need it to be just a little bit longer, so as a result, I can't use that one. So we're probably just gonna fold this one up and use it for something another day. Now, this fat quarter I was just playing with because it's quite pretty. So I'm going to tuck those 2 away and we will be working with these 2. Now I'm going to do this little thing that I used to do in the shop. When we're in the shop, I think I used to just test myself and see what I could make out of 1 fat quarter. I did really come up with a lot of different designs and I actually did surprise myself. So what I thought we might do is we're probably going to do a 5 video part with this one, and we're going to do 1 strip every video, and every video is going to be a different item. Then at the end of it, we're going to collect everything all together and let you see what you can actually get out of 1 fat quarter. So I think that's exciting. So today, what I'm going to start off with is cutting. So just make sure my fabric is square. Now you've probably seen this ruler sit up the back of my workbench here. This is my cutting table. I actually made this cutting table, which I'm really happy about. Happy for my talents. I don't just sew, I make things too. And I made this for my height, so it's actually perfect for my height. Now this ruler, again, I'm not 100% sure, but I actually think I got this ruler from Spotlight. Now this ruler is really good if you've got weak arms. So I've just squared up that edge and I think I'm going to work down the fabric. No, we're actually going to work this way. Now it doesn't matter whether you're working with the bias edge or the non-bias edge. It doesn't really matter because these items, they still work either way. So we've just squared the top up. Now, with these 2 fat quarters, we are probably going to be able, sorry, just checking, probably cut this piece out as well. But keep rolling.
Yep.
Now that I've got this top edge squared up, that's what we needed. You don't necessarily have to square up that edge, but as long as the top edge is squared up, the rest does not need to be touched. Now it's going to be a 5-part video segment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one item in each segment. So we're going to do all the cutting in this one first, and we will work with one strip today. And I think what I'll do is I'll number the videos anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we'll work like that. So first of all, our first cut is 2, 4, 6. We want a 6-inch strip. Now that is your first one. So first cut, 6-inch strip. Okay. Oh, and before you even start, you actually need to iron our fat quarters, because they get a little bit tricky when they've still got creases in them. Now the other 4 strips that we want to cut are 4 inches each. Okay, so there's one strip at 4 inches. I got 2 strips, hang on. Just make sure I get this cut nicely. There's 2. And this last one. And I'll quickly talk to you about this ruler too. Now I trust both my ruler and my mat when it comes to the inches, because both of them are exactly the same. So I'll line this one up. I'll line my ruler up with my mat, and you can have a look for yourself. Now, right now I'm cutting the last 4 inch. So if you want to come in, just come in a little bit closer. Now when I line this ruler up with the mat underneath, all my lines match up. So both the ruler and the mat are exactly the same. So I trust both this ruler and my mat. So here we are for the last 4 inch strip. That was exhausting. Feel like I've run a marathon actually. Now, that's what's left of our fat quarters after I cut my strips. But I'm not going to throw that out because I have this little jar over here that I just stick those strips in because I have a little idea for them later on down the track. Well, actually, if you need to know, it's probably going to be a scrappy quilt. So, what have we got? 1 4 inch, 2 4 inches. There's number 3. And here's our 6-inch. So I guess you're wondering, what are we going to do with these? Well, that's interesting, and unfortunately, I can't tell you until every video. So our 6-inch one, we're doing that one next week. So we're going to pop the 6-inch one aside. And 2 of the 4-inch strips, we're actually going to pop them aside because they are also a video on their own. Now, the reason why I'm doing videos on their own is because each thing that I make does take a bit of time, and I didn't want a really long video. So I wanted to shorten my videos down. So with this first one, okay, I'll tell you what it is. We're making scrunchies. So we'll make scrunchies out of the first 4-inch strip. But the way I'm making them, well, you actually just have to watch. So what I need to go with this now is a 7-inch strip of elastic, and that's all we need. So I'll be right back, and we'll go over to the sewing machine. So I'll be right back shortly. We're back again. Okay guys, now we're just going to jump right into this one. You're probably thinking, scrunchies are so boring, but actually they're not the way that I was actually taught how to make them a long time ago. I can't remember the mechanics of it, but watch very closely. I'm doing two of them at a time for you. So here's our 2 pieces of fabric. Now we put each end together. So you've got the front of your fabric and the back of your fabric. So we put each piece together, and we do probably about a 1/4-inch seam. Set it aside and do exactly the same with the next one. But I promise this next part I will do slowly. That's probably a little bit more than a 1/4 inch, but that's okay. So I have my 2 pieces sewn now. Okay, we've got our ends together and we've sewn them, and we've pretty much turned them into a circle. Now, your 2 pieces, my 2 pieces of elastic, put them in a circle. Put them under the foot and stitch them together. Go backwards and forwards a few times to make sure that they're actually held together pretty good, and then finish it. Okay, now what we've got is 1 elastic round there. So I'll do the second one. So these are a 7-inch piece of elastic, and what we're probably doing, we're folding them over probably about 1 inch or so. Actually about 1 inch on each side. Now, we could just tie these in a knot like everybody else does, even the department store scrunchies. But it's nice to actually have them sitting a little bit nicer than just being tied in a knot. So there we go. Got 2 pieces of round elastic. Now, here's where the magic happens. Finger press that seam one way or the other. It doesn't really matter. But just finger press it. Turn it over. Now watch closely. Roll that in and that in. Now, they're pretty much the ends, you know, the other side of my little piece. Now, we're going to put a piece of elastic here. Then we will be working through the elastic the whole time, so you do need to go slow. Poke that side through the elastic and get it up to the other side. So we're sewing our side pieces together now. There's our seam. Make sure we get it in the right place. So put this piece under the foot, and I always start at that seam because it is a little bit easier and you know where you are. Start your machine off. You're doing about 1/4 of an inch seam. Now we're constantly working through the elastic, but only with one piece of fabric there. So we bring that through the elastic. It's fiddly, but wait till you see the magic of this. Go slow, work around. So pull your pieces through. Make sure everything's all tucked up nicely in there. And if you have a close look, there's the elastic. Make sure it's nice and flat. Do a little bit more. And we've got a decent amount sewn so far. Now, while it's under the machine, don't pull it out. Pull that inner piece out. And see how it's going through the back there? So pull the inside piece through. Now your elastic's still staying there. And we still tuck that in. And we're still working through the elastic. Go slow. Pull it through. Make sure everything is out of the way. We only want the 2 edges under the foot being sewn, and that's it. So everything's out of the way. Now we stop again, pull it through again. And this time what we've actually done is we've pulled it right through to where that seam is there. So you can see that seam there. Now we're still working through the elastic. Gets fiddly, but I think it's fun. Put your pieces together. Do a little bit more sewing. Again. Pull that edge across to this edge. Put them together. Make sure they're nice and flat. Do a bit more sewing. And keep working like this until we get to that seam. A little bit more sewing. I might just pull it through a little bit more. It gets easier the more you do it. A little bit more sewing. Now what we've got so far is there's the seam just there that we started off with. See that little seam there that we started off with? So we're almost back to where we started. I'll do a little bit more sewing. There's where we started. So just there, if you can see that, just there is where we started. So what we might do is finish that there. And what I've got is this opening from there to there. Now this is the magical part. And I do think this is magical. I love making scrunchies like this. We pull that inside piece and we very carefully pull it through. Don't be too brutal. Be gentle. And dun dun dun, look at that. What we do is we try and close up this little gap. So sometimes you can pull the threads away, other times just tuck it all back in. Now get the seams. Get it folded in place. And just this very edge where that hole was, that's all we're sewing up. So get the two pieces together. Get it under the sewing machine. Now what I'm trying to do here is I try to get that edge seam there on the edge of that inside foot there. And that gives me plenty to put a nice seam there. Plenty of room, as you can see. Run your stitch down and finish it off. Now you can continue with that stitch all the way around the edge of the scrunchie if you want to, but I just decided to just stitch the opening shut and that's it with mine. What we do is we need to go all the way around and finger press that seam properly. And that just gets it into a nice position. And the reason why I think that this is fun is because the traditional way of making scrunchies meant that you made the scrunchies and then you had to come back and put the elastic in. Well, that drove me nuts. And I'm sure it would drive a lot of people nuts actually. So at least this way, you're only handling the scrunchie once because everything is done. The elastic is in there. And you're going to get a lot of threads, guys, because you're playing with the edges of fabric. And when you're sewing them, they just, yeah, you're going to get fraying pieces. So once you've gone around and finger pressed your scrunchie, there it is. What do you think of that? I think that they are a really nice scrunchie. I made up some sunflower ones earlier because I had some of this sunflower fabric from when I made those boxes. I had some of this left. You remember my boxes over there? My fabric boxes? Well, I had a little bit of fabric left, so I made up a couple of scrunchies out of that, which I love these scrunchies. Once you get the hang of doing them, they are fun. You do enjoy them. You go slow. So I will show you once more. Finger press your seam down. Turn it over. Fold this in. Hold on to your elastic, so that's what you're doing. And then you want to tuck this side through the elastic and then put it with the other side. And that's what we're doing. So get those two side seams together. Once you get it into your sewing machine, it's pretty easy to work with. So get it in the sewing machine, get your two side seams together, start it off, and then it's pretty, you've got something solid, you know, like the foot's holding it there so you can work with it, and you just slowly pull that through. So we're putting these two edges together, but tucking everything else in there away. So go slow. About a quarter of an inch stitch, you know, is all you need. Anywhere between a quarter of an inch and a half an inch is probably a good thing. But I learnt, well, I do a lot of stuff roughly around a little bit bigger sometimes than a quarter of an inch. So most of my stuff is just a little bit bigger than a quarter of an inch. So there you go. Put the two seams together, work it. Now pull the center one through, so you hold on to the edge, and there's that seam that we started from. So we pull the first bit through, still working through the elastic. Enjoy it, don't get frustrated with it, because if you get frustrated with it, you're going to throw it. and we don't want to throw it. Pull it through again, because look, sewing's fun. Sewing is just fun. So what I've got is I've actually pulled it through, that I've got that seam here. Okay, so I'm still working through the elastic and connecting it to this other side. So we're not sewing anything else. We're just sewing these two pieces together. Nothing else is being sewn. Go slow. And it is fun because you're only sewing and playing with the scrunchie once. We're not going back to do the elastic. It's all done in one. Let's get that little bit more through, and I'm at the very edge there, so there's where I started. There. So I'll put that together. So, and I'm going to leave an opening. So that's where I was before. I'll leave it there. So again, I've got from there to there for an opening. Then your magic part. Pull a piece on the inside, pull it out. Be gentle. And just work with it. And there you go. Then we just sew this seam up. So we have a lot of threads hanging out. Tuck it in. Finger press all of that down. Put it under my machine. And stitch that closure up. So that's where you poke everything through and pull everything out. Cut off all the threads. Now again, you can continue that stitch all the way around the outside edge of the scrunchie if you wanted to. It does give a different effect. I did do it to a couple of my scrunchies, but I decided for the majority just to close the little gap, and that was it. Because I mean, you can keep playing all day and do all sorts of things with this. There's all sorts of things that you can do. But that's the basics of your scrunchie. So go around and finger press that seam. Finger pressing it just makes it look better. Just makes it look neat and tidy. Cut off all your threads. And look, another beautiful scrunchie. I love these scrunchies and I love the way I do them. So, what did we think of that, guys? What did you think of these scrunchies? It's not difficult, but you do end up with a really nice size scrunchie. In fact, my scrunchies are much better than a store-bought one. Store-bought one, the elastic inside the store-bought one is knotted, which when I find that knot, creates a lump, and it's just there. So they don't even flatten their elastics. Now this is a store-bought one. I actually think our scrunchies are much nicer. And when you use a firmer elastic, well, they're firmer. So what did you think of that? So that's number one. Now, next week, I'm actually going to make something out of the 6-inch strip. So make sure you come back and find out what we actually make. Because like I said, at the end of these videos, and there's going to be 5 of them, so it's going to be a 5-part series. At the end of every video, well, actually at the end of all 5 of them, we're going to have a little handful of stuff that you've made from 1 fat quarter. And I actually think that's amazing. And you will be amazed by what you can actually make from 1 fat quarter. So, just a little chat with my pants. I did these last week. Love them. They've been washed and they've washed up beautiful. I actually can't wait to wear them. But it's still a little bit hot. So, I can't wear them at the moment. But they are definitely one of my favorites. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that one today. Yes, okay, it's boring, it's just a scrunchie. But it's a really good way of making a scrunchie. So please have a try of it. Like, subscribe, and share. Come back again, because I'd love for you to see what else we can do next week, and the week after, and the week after, and the week after. So, guys, I'll see you then. Bye.